Hello, my YouTube friends, and happy Saturday. Today I'm going to talk about two opportunities. One that I think you have a legitimate chance of 3xing your money over the next year to 2 years, which I know sounds extreme, but I really think it's a good opportunity. And another where I think you could likely 2x your money potentially in that same time frame. So stick around, these are going to be two really good options. Before I even get into the video, as always, this is not financial advice. Please, you need to do your own research, reach out to your financial advisor for whatever investment decisions you're doing. I only do this stuff for entertainment value and because I like doing it. Now, I also apologize for the background noise. My neighbors seem to be digging to China or something because the jackhammer just keeps going. I hope it's not too distracting. It's distracting for me. So let's start with pick number one, which is Intel. And I know you guys are going to think I'm nuts when I'm talking about 3 timesing your money from where it is already in a company like Intel. But the government's already taken a 10% equity stake in them. They're now adding tariffs that make it more difficult for some of their competitors to do things, where they're partnering up with Intel because they have the infrastructure already in place. You add to that any new contracts they're going to pick up or the things that they're going to do that the administration is going to implement in order to make sure things work. Like, just pay attention to what's going on. I think it's really important right now to pay attention to what the government's doing, and instead of getting angry, which is who I used to be. So I don't want anyone hearing that the wrong way, because that is totally me. But paying attention and jumping on board and being just as cynical as you may have been in the past. Because I am not a huge fan of Intel. I didn't see huge value in the company. But if our administration and the government is taking an equity stake, they're then partnering with NVIDIA, they're now working deals with Taiwan Semiconductor, and there's a good chance they might work other deals as well while people can use their infrastructure to build out and avoid a lot of these tariffs, pushing that growth and those revenues and the income really high. You then add, my guess is, and I said it in yesterday's video, we're going to see a situation where the government all of a sudden needs all new computers in every aspect. And they're going to say that it needs to be national security as to the reason as to why we need this stuff. They might replace all the military computers, the Congress ones, the Senate ones, the White House ones. And guess who's going to be making the chips for those things? Well, an American company, Intel. Do I think it's right? No. There's a reason the governments haven't been invested in the stock market in the past. I think it sets a terrible precedent, but it is what it is. And I think legitimately my price target on Intel is somewhere between $80 and $120 a share, which I know people are going to look at me and think, you're out of your mind. So on Friday's close, or at least based on Friday's close, Intel closed out at a little over an $150 billion market cap. Well, if you look at something like NVIDIA, and I know it's hard to compare the two, NVIDIA is trading at over $4 trillion. So even a 3x only puts them at 450 billion. So I think it's a really conservative estimate to think that they could 3x going forward. If they start making some of the if they start making some of the chips in order to avoid tariffs for some of these other companies, really, I think there's a ton of upside, and we'll see earnings improve, and they're going to have a real turnaround. I think the deal that they made with Trump and the administration is really going to send them right back up. I used to trade Intel 100 years ago when they were the company, and I had this theory that they used to drop below $40 a share, and then they would rally back up to over 140 to have an $100 move. I'm beginning to think that that's the cycle right back again, which is why I have my price target of somewhere between $80 and $120. And understand, those price target stocks don't go up every day, day in and day out. Like, even price targets, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. It's going to look scary at times. So if you make a bet, you just kind of stick with the bet. You accept the good and the bad. You choose a price point where you recognize you're wrong and get out and move on to something else. But if not, if it starts going higher, when they have those big 5% down days and it looks really scary, you just kind of continue with it if you have a price target in mind and a time frame in mind. At least that's how I look at things. Now, I already have a position in Intel. The way that I'm continuing to trade it is I'm beginning to implement some options with it, and I'm selling puts in order to add on if there are pullbacks. So I'm perfectly happy if those get exercised because we have a drawdown and the stock drops a bit. And I'm selling some way out of the money calls that if I get taken on the stock a little bit, it's okay because I have a good position already. If you don't have a position already, I don't really want to make any advice on what you should do. It's kind of why I say you have to do your own research. I just think it's still a huge buy right here, even as much as it's already gone, because I think I was picking it up around $22 a share, and on Friday it closed above $35. Now, I had a friend who jumped on board and he got really bored, got out of it because he said it just wasn't going anywhere. That's my point about things aren't so easy. It takes time. You have to have patience and trust the trades that you're putting on and accept that they may move against you for a certain point in time. And what is my number 2 pick? This is going to be a weird one, and I mentioned it in another video a little while back, and it's been going the right way as well, and it's spiking to make new highs, which is silver. I know it's moved already, and gold is making huge highs, and who pays attention to silver? But I think with inflation and everything else, $100 an ounce is not such an outrageous number. Silver, it's boring. Nobody pays attention, but it's finally creeping up, getting in the news a little bit, beginning to peek its head out, but I don't think anybody's excited about it yet. So I think it takes until it gets to $100 an ounce before people start talking about it. And when other people start piling in who aren't paying attention to it is when it's gone too far. And I really think it takes an $100 an ounce price to get people into it. Maybe it gets close to it. But how do you trade silver? Well, you can buy an ETF like SLV, you can buy the physical, you can do whatever you like with it. And again, not financial advice, but I think it's on a real tear, and this new move that it made up to like $45 an ounce is really just the beginning. And I think it kind of just goes parabolic in some ways. Now, I could be totally wrong on silver. The thing that I like about it that I mentioned in the other video is I feel like no matter which way the markets go, silver still has upside potential. If things turn in the stock market, people could run to metals as what they see as a safe haven. If we continue to have inflation, the dollar's going to get weaker and things like metals would go higher. And that's kind of what I like about silver is I think in any scenario, it still has upside potential. The interesting thing is I think platinum gets dragged up with it as well, and I'm still waiting for the day when platinum becomes more expensive than gold, which is how I traditionally think about it. I don't know how many of you watch metals or pay attention, but back in the late 90s, gold started getting more expensive than platinum. If not, it was early 2000s, which made no sense to me. Well, it's been that way ever since. If it starts to reverse and go back to what I would consider normal, I think you see a scenario where platinum drives to be 3 times the value of gold wherever it's trading. I know that sounds absolutely nuts, but platinum is a really thinly traded market that doesn't have a ton of material out there. There isn't a ton of platinum. So when the market can move, it can be very extreme moves. So I'd keep an eye on it. It could be a really interesting play as well. I know that sounds nuts, but if gold's at $4,000 an ounce, I really wouldn't be shocked to see platinum go to $12,000, which sounds mind-boggling. But if they go back to normalization where platinum's more expensive, that kind of used to be the case. I mean, platinum was trading at the prices it is now, up to $2,000 an ounce, back when gold was only $300 an ounce. So it was more like 6 or 7 times the value of gold. So once it inverted, it stayed there for a long time. I actually started buying platinum because it didn't make sense to me, and now it's been 20 some odd years, and I've been wrong for 20 some odd years, which is kind of why I always say don't listen to me. I'm just as big an idiot as anyone else out there. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, and we all have our best guesses, and we kind of use the information we have and make those guesses. But anybody telling you or making you promises, they're just bigger idiots than I am. So today being the weekend, it gave me an opportunity to look through some of the options that I had expire from this week. And again, really amazed how 20 cents here and there really adds up when I annualize it, because I sold one call and one put on Verizon and I only got a little over 40 cents between the two. But then I did the math to annualize it and I put a little note in my little note thing that I use showing that those two options, if I did that every week, I'm making 34% in Verizon just on those options. So it's really incredible how a really low volatility stock, Conagra, has been blowing my mind as to how well I've been doing, because when I've been running the numbers, for those of you who've been watching the other videos, my goal is in the options to make 15 cents a week, or I'm sorry, 15 cents a month selling a call and selling a put. And on just one of those, that's about 9% return. So if I do both, I'm pushing to 18% on the option. And then what I've been recognizing is I've been getting between 10 and 20 cents every week, not once a month. Now, this week on Wednesday, they have earnings, so I'm being a little bit sensitive. I don't want to sell too many options, not because I don't want to get an increased volatility and get a higher premium, but what I notice is the volatility didn't go up a whole lot. I don't think they really move a whole bunch on earnings. So I'm hoping the earnings are somewhat decent. It pops it back above the $19 range where I can sell the calls a little bit higher than where I was the last couple weeks. Because then if I get taken on my calls, I get the appreciation of the stock as well. But it's really exciting for me. I know I'm such a nerd that it's so exciting about these low volatility stocks and the type of returns that I'm seeing that I'm getting just by selling these really inexpensive options. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to them, and I'm not doing huge volumes, so I don't think the traders even notice. Maybe I sell one or two of this one or that one, and it's added up. I think at this point I have 1,400 shares of Conagra, so it's a big size position. But you don't need a big size position. You can do it very small, and the stock doesn't move very far, which I find super comforting. I don't have these big blowouts where it drops $3-4 in a day or whatever it might be and really affects the valuation. The stock barely moves 20 or 30 cents typically, and by the end of the week it's lucky if it's moved 20 or 30 cents in either direction. It's been really interesting, and the reason I talk about Conagra is it's been drifting against me, which is why I have more shares than I originally started. But as it's drifted against me, and I've done the math of how much I've made selling the options, and then I realized I'd gotten a dividend as well, I'm down maybe $300, as it looks like I'm down about $1,400. That's pretty cool to me, because now if the stock goes back up to where I originally got in, I'm actually crushing it. I'm up about $900. And if I start getting filled on some of those calls, I'm really crushing it, especially if I annualize that type of return. And it'll become very easy to then reverse and sell puts if I get exercised on the calls. And as I get exercised on a put from time to time, same thing, I just get more aggressive on the calls I sell, continuing to try to collect 15 cents a month, but really it's been significantly more. Do any of you watch any slow volatility or low volatility stocks and pay attention to the options? I'd be curious as well. Anyway, forgive me, this really is driving me nuts, so I'm going to end the video. If you haven't already, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, make some comments in the comment section. Hopefully it's not super distracting to you, and hopefully they finish this stuff in the next couple of days. But it's very frustrating. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you. Oh, Miracle League. So today is our first day of the season. Those of you who don't know, we volunteer our time to this Miracle League, which helps disabled kids be able to play essentially wiffle ball, but little plastic bats and a soft ball. And it's anywhere from kids in wheelchairs and crutches and to ones who just maybe on the spectrum or seem just fine. but it's really nice and it makes us feel really good to give back to the community. Those of you who don't do something, I find it's really valuable to do that. We coach a team there because we've been involved in it the past few years. Maybe if you're able to with your family, find something you guys get some satisfaction and reach back to the community and help out. It's been wonderful for us. Anyway, again, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, make some comments, and have a great day.